Hi, welcome to How to Reduce Disruption so you can actually teach. I'm Linda Cardemus, your classroom management mentor and the founder of Teach for the Heart. Can't wait to dive into this today with you. I want to start off by asking you if you can relate to any of these statements. Have you ever planned an amazing lesson or something fun and it was ruined by student misbehavior? Isn't that just the worst? Do you ever experience constant interruptions and chatter? Do they ever get to the point that they're so disruptive that you can hardly get through your lessons? Have you ever felt more like a babysitter than a teacher? By the way, I'm raising my hand. I have totally been here. Have you ever tried to make learning fun with a game or activity, but before you know it, it is just way too rowdy? Have you ever tried the I'm waiting so kids will be quiet, but that does not work? It just wastes so much time because you are waiting forever and the kids don't ever actually stop and get quiet. There's so much advice we're given as teachers, and one of the pieces of advice I've heard is to ignore small misbehaviors. You know, the people say pick your battles. But if you've tried that, in many cases, that can really backfire because rather than, helping the disruptions diminish, it actually makes them grow and spread and produce even more chaos. So in this training, we want to talk about this question. How can I actually minimize disruptions so I can teach my content? And I know a lot of you are like, I have fun things I want to do with my students and I can't do it right now. So we want to minimize disruption so you can teach, so you can help your struggling students, so you can do those fun things and enjoy learning together. There are many things, though, that you are being told to do, probably on social media or by various people, and it actually isn't working. One thing that we're hearing a lot is positive motivation and rewards only. And what we're actually hearing from most teachers is this is not working in my classroom. This is not a good enough approach. On the other hand, some teachers are being told you're being too nice, or that kind of traditional advice, don't smile until Christmas. That's not the solution either. Suddenly being mean and not being nice, that's not it either. So these aren't the solutions. I saw this not good advice, and we've created a system that's actually working now in today's classrooms. We call it the Calm Classroom Roadmap, and we are using it to help so many teachers actually teach without a million interruptions. And I'm so excited to break down this strategy. This is the strategy we use with the teachers that we work with. And these teachers are able to drastically reduce the number of disruptions during lesson and work times. They're gaining confidence that they know how to handle situations that used to leave them pretty dumbfounded. And a lot of them say, my daily stress level is way down. I'm actually enjoying my job, which is where we all want to be. If you guys don't mind, I'm going to take just a moment and pray for us before we dive into this. Father, thank you for the opportunity to present this to these teachers. I pray that you will encourage them and help them, guide my words as I speak, and may they be encouraged and helped as they listen. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. All right, so the Calm Classroom Blueprint that I just mentioned actually has 3 phases that we're going to go through today. First is plan. We're going to create your classroom management plan is the first thing you have to do. Because with a classroom management plan, you are going to know exactly what you are going to do and say every time a misbehavior occurs. And this gives you so much clarity and confidence and helps you actually be consistent. Second, you need to practice responding consistently. So once you have your plan and you know what you're going to do, then you need to practice. And that makes the boundaries become really clear. It diminishes the disruptions. It helps you rebuild respect and teach without a million interruptions. And then we can get to step 3, which is engage, motivating your students to listen and learn. And as they become more focused, you can do those fun activities, you can help your struggling students, you can enjoy learning together. So this is just a high-level overview, and I'm going to go through each of these with you. So let's start with plan. What exactly do I mean by create a classroom management plan? You've probably heard of that, but what exactly does that entail? Well, first of all, let's talk about why this is so important. I don't know if you realize this, but for a lot of us, a lot of times when teachers are struggling with being consistent in their discipline, part of the problem is they don't have a plan. And because they don't know what to do when certain misbehaviors happen, then they either don't do anything or they're really inconsistent. That's what happened to me my first year. I didn't know what to do when students were talking or getting out of their seat or putting their head down, so I kind of didn't do anything or was really inconsistent, and that wasn't good. Things quickly fell apart for me, and that's what we're seeing with a lot of the teachers we work with as well. And here's why. Students naturally push boundaries. It doesn't really matter if they're kindergartners or seniors in high school. They push boundaries. And if we don't make the line really, really clear, they're just going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing that line further and further and further. You might have experienced something like this. You start with a few kids whispering, and it's almost like this tiny little fire, But if you don't put out that little fire, it doesn't typically go out on its own. Before you know it, a few kids are whispering. And then maybe the next day, then you've got more kids talking. And then, the next day or later in the day, the volume is growing and then other students are joining in. And this fire is not diminishing, it's spreading. The line is getting pushed further and further, right? Volume grows, more students join in. And if you're not consistent, if they're not finding that line anywhere, it keeps growing and growing. And soon you're standing in front of your classroom and you're trying to teach, and it's, you feel like only 3 of your students are actually paying a lick of attention. I know I've been there. It's awful. It feels like a raging fire, like a raging forest fire that is completely out of control. So part of the reason this is happening is because we're not keeping the line clear. Another factor that's happening is when we're inconsistent, students sense that uncertainty in us. It's really like this flashing beacon that says, I kind of don't know what I'm doing. You can get away with stuff. Keep trying more. We don't mean to do that, but when we're inconsistent and uncertain, that's the cue students get. Now, I say all that to say a written plan fixes so much of that. Without a plan, we are inconsistent. There's chaos, right? There's disruptions, talking over the teacher, their students are kind of running over us a little bit. But with a plan, we are confident. We know what to do and we're in control. So we can make those boundaries really clear and rebuild respect. I want you to imagine for a moment knowing exactly what to do when your students misbehave. If you knew exactly what to do every single time for every single misbehavior, what a difference that would make. If you knew exactly what to do, you would be so much more confident, which would mean you could be so much more consistent because all you have to do is follow the plan. Boundaries would be clear. That line would be very clear. Students would then respect that, right? There'd be so many fewer disruptions and you would actually be able to teach. In essence, you're reversing that beacon that said, I don't know what I'm doing, to now say, I know what I'm doing. Don't mess with me. So let's talk about what exactly is in a classroom management plan that I keep referencing. There are 5 parts. First is clear expectations, SMART procedures, positive reinforcement, logical consequences, and planned responses. Let me go into these one at a time. So first of all, we start with clear expectations. So many times we actually don't know in our own mind where the line is. Students might do something and go, oh, is that okay? Should I say something? Should I let that go? We don't know where the line is ourselves. So how could we ever make it clear to our students? So we start by getting really clear, where is the line? And this, by the way, is where you pick your battles. Pick the battles ahead of time as you make your expectations for yourself. Then we go into SMART procedures, okay? Then we're going to implement procedures that reduce chaos and keep things running smoothly. So when we work with teachers in Classroom Management 101, we help them think through what areas of your classroom are chaotic right now. Those are the ones you need to address, find a better procedure, or just actually use the procedure that you have and actually make sure students are following it so that things run smoothly. Number 3 is positive reinforcement. We want to be encouraging to our students and motivate them in positive ways. I said in the beginning, just positive motivation is not enough, just that one piece in and of itself, but it is still a very important piece that we don't want to miss. And sometimes it honestly can fall through the cracks. We want to plan intentionally how and where am I going to use positive motivation and reinforcement. Number 4, logical consequences. Just like positive motivation should be a piece of our classroom management plan, so should logical consequences. So when we work with teachers, we help you figure out what consequences make sense for you, your students, and your school. And it really does vary depending on the situation. Certain schools are like no consequences at all. And there's ways that you can work with that and kind of work around that. But you want to think through what are some of the things that are going to happen? What are some of the things that are logical to happen when students aren't doing what they're supposed to, and have those ready to go. And then number 5 is when we put it all together. This is the most exciting part. This is where you actually plan, what am I going to do? What am I going to say when students misbehave? So we take all the common things. When students are talking without permission, what are you going to do and say exactly? When students are rude, when students are disrespectful, when students get up and wander around. So you have a plan and you're ready to go. Now, you may be thinking, wouldn't that take a while to put all that together? Like, that's a lot. How do I know what to put on there? First thing I want you to consider is, yes, this cannot be done in 2 seconds, but any time spent here is an investment of your time. And imagine how worth it is to sit down and think this through so that when you step into your classroom, you know what to do. You're able to be consistent. You're able to build that respectful classroom, and you're able to actually teach. This is a really, really worthwhile use of your time. But better yet, when we work with teachers, we have templates and copy and paste idea banks. So for each area, we have a template that we walk you through, and for each one you click, you can see the ideas, you can look through and say, this is the one that's best for my classroom, copy, paste, tweak it any bit as needed, and move on. So in that way, it really helps you personalize your plan to fit your style without having to figure it all out on your own, so that your plan can be ready a lot more quickly without taking too long. One of the students that we worked with, Bradley, I love her story. She said, I have so much more confidence in myself since making my plan, and it's made such a difference. She said that students are just intuitively responding to my greater sense of authority and competence, right? That's that beacon I was talking about. She says, now I have strategies to deal with situations that previously left me dumbfounded. And I want you to imagine yourself in that spot where you have a plan, you're able to be consistent, you're able to be confident, you make the boundaries clear, and are able to reduce those disruptions. So step 1 was to create your classroom management plan. Step 2 is to put it into practice and practice responding consistently. And as boundaries become clear, disruptions diminish, respect is rebuilt, and you're able to teach without a million interruptions. Now, at this point, you might be having some fears, some what ifs cropping up. You may be saying, but Linda, what if my plan doesn't work? What if kids still don't respect me? What if they don't care about the consequences? What if there are so many issues I can't even deal with all of them? There are so many what ifs, so many fears that could hold you back, and don't let them hold you back, because there are answers and solutions for each of these. Let's take this one. There are too many issues to deal with. Well, use a classroom reset. A classroom reset is a fantastic way to break bad habits in the middle of the year and create a fresh start. Here's another what if. What if they still don't respect me? They will. But I will say, it doesn't always happen overnight. So if it doesn't happen overnight, we're going to trust the process. We're going to focus on what we can control. And we're going to be consistent in our responses, which is in our control. What if they don't care about consequences? Well, we'll simply adjust our plan and try something else. You might be thinking, okay, this all sounds good. I'm still not sure, right? Sometimes fears are hard to bust. But we really need to overcome our fears, because if we can't overcome our fears, we're never going to make any changes. And we really do need to make changes to reduce disruptions. I want to show you something that I see a lot, and it's this vicious cycle. And here's what it looks like. You try out a classroom management idea, or a teacher tries out a classroom management idea, and it doesn't seem to work as well as they'd hoped. So they quickly get discouraged. They abandon that idea. They wallow around for a little bit, and then they're back to a new one. That doesn't work out as well as they hope. They quickly get discouraged, abandon that idea. And what's happening, a lot of times when I talk to teachers that we work with, I'm like, well, how long did you do this for? Well, I just tried it today, or 2 days. 1 day is not enough to see if an idea is going to work, okay? The first day you do this, it's going to be, have you ever seen fishing when you reel in a fish and they're like flopping like crazy? The first day you put your plan into action, your students are going to be like those fish on that reel. They're not going to know what to think. Sometimes things really are not, the key is not always in day one. It's in the consistency afterwards. Okay, so we can't give up on ideas too quickly. Sometimes the idea is great. We just didn't give it enough time. We didn't trust the process. But another thing that can happen is not only are we giving up on ideas too quickly that maybe actually would have worked, but we can also start to get this thinking of nothing will ever work and hesitate to try again, okay? So we have to move past that. We can't be nervous and quick to give up on ideas. Instead, we have to be courageously consistent and we have to trust the process. And this is what we use in this step 2, put it into practice. This is the courageously consistent process that we walk teachers through and that you can use in your classroom as well. First, we do a reset to break bad habits. Then we focus on responding consistently. We adjust the plan as needed, and we watch the disruptions diminish. So let's talk through each of these. Part 1, reset. I love the classroom reset. I wish I had time to teach it to you in detail here. But what we do is we do something surprising for our students that gets their attention, produces a bit of a reset so that it's kind of like dousing that forest fire real quick so that things diminish and then you can be more consistent. So it helps you like I said, douse that forest fire, bring the level down because students are kind of surprised. And then as the little issues start to shoot up, you're able to deal with them one by one before they get out of control again. So classroom reset is hugely helpful if you're trying to make these changes in the middle of the year. If it's the summer, you just start off right on day 1 and you'll be amazed at the difference. After the reset, then we focus on responding consistently according to our plan and not getting discouraged or giving up if it takes time for the students to respond. Remember I said focus on your response more than on what the students are doing, and that's the key to staying consistent and courageously consistent. Part 3, though, is to adjust. So I said we don't give up on ideas too quickly. Don't try an idea for 1 hour and say it didn't work. You got to give it a little bit more time. But if you've tried something for a week, 2 weeks, and you're like, this really is not working, then it's time to adjust. No plan is set in stone, and we help teachers. We help you tweak your plan as needed. You just go back and say, okay, this isn't working. What am I going to try instead? And in that way, you're continually making your plan better and better and better. And as you do this, your confidence is going to increase. Disruptions are going to diminish. And if you stick with it, you're going to be able to get to the point where you're able to teach without a million interruptions. And that is so, so worth it. Marlene talked about how, just this difference this made. She said, I'm implementing new ideas and it's working. And she said, I was really surprised how the students' reaction is positively different when I address their needs and problems immediately. So that consistent dealing with things right away made such a difference for Marlene. I want you to imagine the difference it will make for you. As you practice being consistent, your confidence grows, your consistency is better, and you can do it without being discouraged. All right, so back to our original plan. Remember, there were 3 steps in this blueprint. Number 1, creating the classroom management plan. Number 2, practice responding consistently. Number 3, engage, motivating students to listen and learn so that they can actually succeed. You can do those fun activities. You can help your struggling students and enjoy learning together. Now, you've probably said something like this to yourself before. I've tried to engage my students, but they just don't seem to care. Or maybe you've said, I try to do fun activities, but it just gets way too rowdy. You might find yourself pretty frustrated and wondering if it's even possible to keep kids engaged and motivated. Here's a key point I want you to understand. Classroom management and student motivation go hand in hand. They can either help each other or they can really hurt each other. When they go in the wrong direction, you get kind of this downward death spiral, and you might recognize this. If your classroom is chaotic and there's a lot of misbehavior, that distracts students, it demotivates them, it makes them less motivated. And when students are bored or unmotivated, that causes way more issues. So it's kind of like a chicken and egg thing. It's hard to know which one comes first, but if either one is happening, they can feed into each other and things are going down, 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 and it just gets worse. The students become more bored, more chaos, more bored. it's bad, okay? But the good news is we could also turn it around and they can help each other instead. When your classroom is calmer and students respect you, that helps them be more focused and more motivated. And when students are focused and more motivated, they cause fewer issues. So that's what we're doing. That's actually why we did not start with student motivation. We started with classroom management because I really believe that's the foundation. But at this point in the process, you've already created your classroom management plan and you're already responding way more consistently. That is going to make a huge difference. It's getting those arrows turned around, right? There's less disruptions, students are more focused, your classroom is more calm, you're actually able to teach. Maybe you're even doing more fun activities at this point. So students are already more focused. But we don't want to stop there. We want to really get the spiral going even better in the right direction. So we want to say, are there ways that they're not being motivated that we can fix? How can we motivate them better so there's fewer disruptions and issues? So, like I said, at this point, you're already better off. But there's still some students who are just like, oh, they do not seem to care. And that, I don't have to tell you, that's more and more common these days, right? So how can we motivate these students who still just don't seem to care? Well, just want to make sure I put this out there right up front. Fun activities are not enough to motivate students. If you say, I want to do fun activities, that's great. Fun activities are fantastic. But by themselves, that's not enough of a strategy to just try to do fun things. Here's an example of why. If you're thinking, we're playing this fun review games about atoms or cells, but your student is thinking, I don't understand any of this. This game, we're playing a game, but I'm probably going to fail the test tomorrow. They're not going to be very motivated just because it's a game, right? They have bigger concerns. They are like, I'm going to fail, okay? So the reality is motivation can leak out of our students in many different ways. They might feel like this stuff doesn't even matter, so why should I care? If they feel like they can't understand it, they might give up without even trying. If they feel like they're going to fail, they might say, why bother? If they're not so sure that the teacher cares about them, they might say, what's the point? So we can't just do one thing. We can't just say, let's make it fun or let's make it relevant. Like that, one-offs are not the key. We have to have a multifaceted approach to change students' minds and kind of plug these different motivational holes. So for example, we don't want students to say this stuff doesn't matter, right? So we want to help them see this is helpful. I need to learn this. Instead of saying, I can't understand this, I give up. We want them to say, I can figure this out if I keep working. Instead of feeling like I'm just going to fail, so why bother? We want them to know I can do well if I work hard and study. Rather than thinking my teacher doesn't really care, we want them to know my teacher believes in me and I want to make them proud. So what we want to help you with and what you need to have is a multifaceted approach that plugs all the holes, as many as you can, right? And motivates students from the inside out, changes how they think, which is really the key. So let's go through these different aspects. So part one, reduce chaos. This is already happening, right? Step one, and we already created our classroom management plan. We put it into action. That's going to be hugely helpful in motivating. Number two, build relationships. When students know you care, they'll want to do well in your class. You're probably already doing this, but there's always more we can do to build relationships. Part three, cut the confusion. Oh my goodness, this is so important. If students are confused about what you're teaching, that can really demotivate students quick. If they're like, I'm confused, I don't get it, they can get frustrated and check out. So it's so important that we make sure they understand your content. We talk about this. We help our teachers with this that we work with. Number four kind of ties in, helping students succeed. So once students can be really demotivated if they're like, I'm confused. They can also get really demotivated if they feel like it doesn't matter. I can't succeed at this. I don't know how to do well on the test. So we have to help students know how to succeed in our classes and then experience at least some level of success so they're like, oh, I actually can do this. And that can make a really big difference. And then number five, and this is the one I think we sometimes jump to a lot, but it is still important, making learning relevant and fun when we can. So we want to help students see why what they're learning matters. We want to look for ways to make it fun. That is definitely one piece, but we can't just skip to that piece. All of these are really, really important. When you get all of these working together, you can enjoy learning with students who are more engaged, they're listening, they're participating, they're working. Does that mean every student is going to do this all the time? No. No, that's not going to happen most likely. But so many more of your students can be with you. And even your most struggling students, you can help and get them closer to where they should be. Elaine, I thought this was really a great feedback she gave. She said, this course helps you train your students to be better humans, not just better students. So helping them be better students and also how they are as a person. So here's a question for you. Are you at a place right now where you want to reduce disruptions? Would you say nah or yes, yes, yes? I think you're probably, if you've watched this far, saying yes, definitely. And I ask that because that is what I help teachers like you do in Classroom Management 101. And Classroom Management 101 is really like having me as a mentor walk you through the steps of that I just went through with templates to make it simple and less time consuming. So if you say, okay, yes, I would love for you to help me, I want to go through just a minute and show you what does this look like? How do you actually use this program to reduce disruptions? So first thing when you join is you're going to be welcomed into our learning portal and our support community. Next, you're going to work on creating your classroom management plan. First thing we're going to do is get really clear on where the boundaries are and then work through all 5 of those parts so that you know exactly what to do when students cross those boundaries. And the way we're going to do that is first of all with short video lessons that explain each step. Very short and easy to watch. Then we have a plan template and copy and paste ideas in our idea bank. So you're going to go through each aspect, go to the idea bank, copy and paste the idea that you feel like is best for your classroom, adjust it as needed. And then if you say, but what if I don't know still what to do? There are mentors available, myself and our team, mentors available to give you feedback, answer any of your questions whenever you need it. So first, welcome in, then we're going to create your classroom management plan, then we're going to continue through the steps of the Calm Classroom process. So this process we just talked about, create your plan, put it into practice with the classroom reset and then consistency and then adjusting it, and then the motivation, that multifaceted approach that we talked through. The video lessons are going to walk you through this step by step with templates and mentor support each step along the way. And then as you work through it, you're finally going to be able to teach without all of the interruptions, right? Disruptions diminish, able to actually teach, help your struggling students, and even make learning fun and do some of those things you've been wanting to do with your students. So at this point, you may be wondering, well, what does it cost to join? So our normal price that we sell it for on our website is $4 payments of $65, or you can save a little bit and pay in full and pay $237. This includes lifetime access to the program, step-by-step videos like I just talked about, all the copy and paste templates that I talked about, as well as 6 months of mentor support. But I truly do not want price to be an obstacle for you. If you say, yes, I want to reduce disruptions, I want to help you do this. And so I'm about to offer you a price that I've literally never offered it this low before. And I'm honestly just doing this as an experiment because I do not want price to be the obstacle. So I do not know how long I'm going to offer this. Right now it's available for you for 2 days. Here is the deal I'm about to offer you. I'm going to go as low as $27 for your 4 monthly payments or $97 pay in full. Honestly, never offered that before, but I truly want to be able to help you reduce disruptions, and I believe in this program, and I believe in you and your ability to do it. And so, like I said, I don't want price to be an obstacle, so I hope that you jump in and take advantage of this super special deal. We're also throwing in, for 2 days only, your classroom management style. This is a quick reflection that will help you personalize your classroom management plan to match your unique personality, because you don't want to base your classroom management on anyone else, like, even your mentor teacher or your favorite teacher's personality. That's not your personality. So you want it to match you and what's going to work best for you. So you can get all of this. You can see everything, at least a lot of the things that are included right here, all for just $97. That is crazy, but I really hope you take advantage and join us inside Classroom Management 101. If you're ready to join, just click that button right below. Or if you still have more questions, choose that option and we'll answer your questions for you. Thank you so much for being here. It was my pleasure. I'm Linda Kardamis, and I hope to see you inside Classroom Management 101 where we can reduce disruptions together.